Are you looking for a better way to play player props or daily fantasy sports? Well, look no further than Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the leading over-under daily fantasy game. Why? Because it's so easy to use and win. You can make your picks in under 30 seconds and win up to 10 times your money in one day. Right now, we have a special offer for our viewers and listeners of the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. All you got to do is sign up now and use the promo code BACKPACK. Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. That's right. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. So, join the over 150,000 others who found a better way to play and download the Prize Picks app today. Hard to Tell podcast, episode 210. Dexter Henry Bryan Fonseca here.
Yeah.
Happy Black History Month to everybody. Y'all know what time it is.
Oh, yes.
Let's
absolutely.
go. Oh, you forgot?
Yes. No, we're recording on January 31st.
Yes, but you know, this is dropping.
That's why I was like, don't do that. They're gonna let people think.
Nah. See, being black, you got to get ready, man. They already gave us the shortest month for Black History Month, so you got to get ready and keep that energy, man. I'm ready. I am ready. You know what I'm saying? You got to stay ready. But happy Black History Month to everybody out there. This is always an interesting time. Brian and I, we've been doing this podcast for 4 years. Interesting time in the world of sports. We work in the world of sports. It kind of gets a little dead. It gets a little slow. This is the week between the Super Bowl happening, or the week where we're approaching the Pro Bowl, which I'm always like, who watches that? And there's just not going on. We're waiting for the trade deadline to occur. All-Star game. Wait, you watched the Pro Bowl?
No, but I don't even play the Pro Bowl in Madden. When like I get guys in my franchise mode into the Pro Bowl, I don't even play that shit. I just skip it. Yo, I saw Mac Jones got into the Pro Bowl yesterday, and I was like, get the fuck out of here. That's how you know you don't have to like.
Why you mad at Mac Jones making the Pro Bowl, man?
Mac Jones is not a Pro Bowl quarterback. What? Come on, man. Like, what did he do that one game where he threw like 4 times or whatever it was, or 3 times? If I have a Pro Bowl quarterback, I don't care what the weather conditions are. You're throwing more than 3 or 4 times in the game, whatever that shit was.
I mean, he was a team player, man. He was doing whatever it took to win. And the people up there in New England, they love Mac Jones. He's the second coming to Tom Brady, if you let them tell it.
You next.
Rod is so bothered, man. Yo, speaking of that, I'll tell you, before we get into stuff, I'll tell you this. God said Brian might feel me on this. You know what bothers me? You know what really annoys me, man?
2 for 3, by the way, that game, Mac Jones. 2 for 3, 19 yards against the Bills. And they won 14-10.
He got the W, man. Pro
Bowls don't mean shit. All Pro, All NBA.
I agree. You're not going to get any argument from me on that. People take the Pro Bowl and the All-Star game stuff too seriously. But you know what annoys me? This is a little side rant I had, and people might feel me on this. Okay, we all go to stores. We all buy different things. You know, things we might be interested in getting or whatever. I had a little problem the other day with Dunkin' Donuts. Right? Dunkin' Donuts don't fool me. Okay, we know they don't sponsor us right now. I'm not anti Dunkin' Donuts for my people out there who love the Dunkin' Donuts. But check this, big, and I gotta see Brian's face on this. Okay, this was a couple days ago. My daughter, I always tell her during the week, one day I'll get her a treat after school. Sometimes it's ice cream. Sometimes it might be whatever it could be. Some Dunkin' Donuts. She likes Dunkin' Donuts. She asked me to go to Dunkin' Donuts after school. We go to the Dunkin' Donuts. We go to Dunkin' Donuts, and they're out of donuts. How are you out of donuts if you're Dunkin' Donuts?
Yo, is it because what do they say? It was a shortage on donuts? Like we have a shortage on everything now?
No, sir. The man just looked at me and was like, we out. Like, what? So this is my thing, B. You can't be
clip that.
You can't be Popeyes. You can't be Kentucky Fried Chicken and running out of chicken. You can't be Starbucks and running out of coffee. You can't be Burger King or Shake Shack and running out of the burgers. This is what you do. You know what I'm saying? You can't have the thing in your name and then run out of it. You know, but the story gets better, man. So we go to one Dunkin' Donuts, the Dunkin' Donuts that's closest to where I live. Now, around where I live, we're in New York City. There are several Dunkin' Donuts within the neighborhood where I can go. Quick drive, about 5 minutes each from each other. We go to another Dunkin' Donuts, and they're out of donuts.
No, no.
Serious.
Multiple Dunkin' Donuts in the same area,
Multiple Dunkin' Donuts in the same area out of donuts.
and
So
it's
I
not,
start thinking
man.
just maybe the people in my neighborhood just really hit up the Dunkin' Donuts heavy. They're really eating some donuts right now. I don't know, but I'm still like, and let me also be clear on the time of day because I don't want to be. This wasn't like it was top of the morning. I understand that, but it was about 4 p.m. Okay, I still feel like people coming after school, after work, they want to get some donuts.
Yeah, that's normally when you would like,
Yeah,
on Friday you would get the box. You know what I'm saying? So the family can have it for the weekend. You get the box of like 12 donuts or whatever. We used to do that. Like,
yo, you can't. Again, You can't say, you know what, man? I'm gonna go to the bagel shop and ain't got no bagels. You go to pizza shop, they got no pizza. Your Dunkin' Donuts is in your name, and there's none.
Didn't they
Uh,
change it to Dunkin' or whatever?
well, they still. It says Dunkin' Donuts on the stores I went to, the ones that are
Okay,
still
yeah.
by me.
This
But I do think they changed their branding to Dunkin'. You're right about that.
even if they did, they're one of those places where it's like, we don't care what you change your name to, we're gonna call you Dunkin' Donuts. Okay,
Fair,
we're
fair
not
enough.
gonna fucking call you Dunkin'.
Although it
So
got me to thinking, right? This whole situation got me thinking. One, I still think I'm right about the fact that you got to have what's in your name, even though
yes,
they've taken Dunkin' out the name. But it makes me think has Dunkin' Donuts now come to the point where people don't really go there for the donuts as much, so they don't produce as much? Like, do people go to
ooh,
Dunkin' Donuts more for the coffee now than they do the donut? I'm not necessarily sure.
I
Like,
for like their breakfast wraps or sandwiches if
see, I
they're
could
like
see
near.
that too. I can see that too. Be the last
Yeah,
couple of times I've
couple
actually
wake up
went
wraps. You
into
know what I'm saying?
yeah, the last couple of times I went to Dunkin' Donuts, and I remember the time I was at before that, I was covering a storm. It was like one of the only things that was open in Poughkeepsie, New York that morning was Dunkin' Donuts. I got myself a breakfast sandwich. I don't really go for the donuts. But anyway, to wrap this story, we found some donuts. We had to go to the third Dunkin' Donuts where they finally, and I went in there, they didn't have much donuts. There was a few,
Huh?
a few. They had a couple Boston creams. They had no glazed donuts, which is what my daughter wanted. And they had
Oh,
some other chocolate
I'm
donuts,
with her.
a
Glaze,
few
glaze is the
others. She
best one.
wanted glazed donuts. So my daughter was disappointed because she didn't even get the donuts that she wanted.
Yeah.
But two of these Dunkin' Donuts didn't even have donuts. What are we doing? What are we doing?
So glazed. Uh, what else? Strawberry. Strawberry is one of my favorites.
Well, she really wanted the strawberry, and they didn't have that. That was her top choice.
That's the
So then
best
she
one,
was like,
probably.
"Daddy, we will go with the glaze." And when they didn't have any donuts at last, you should have seen her face. I should have took a picture of my daughter's face and tweeted it at Dunkin' Donuts. They should have seen the disappointment that Simone had from going to two locations in New York City,
Yeah.
that did not have any donuts.
She like my.
I'm just saying, you about the donuts, you gotta have the donuts. You ain't got the
She
donuts, can't be about the donuts. That's all I'm saying.
is she like Munchkins?
I'm trying to think if she's had the munchkins yet. I don't think so. She's
Those
about
are
the
good
full
too.
donut.
Yeah, no,
Full
the
donut.
Munchkins are good too, but that's something that you give to like a kid that age because that was when I was having them at like school and shit. Because
You
there
look
was a,
like
I actually went to
you look like
school.
you used to go crazy on the munchkins. I could see you. You look like you used to go crazy on the
I'm
munchkins.
super picky though. Like they would have some of the flavors. I was like, I don't want that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, I actually went to not elementary school. What's before that? Kindergarten and yeah, pre-K. I went to. I'm like, what's before that? before when I was going to kindergarten and pre-K, yeah, there was a Dunkin' Donuts like around the block from the school that we would go to regularly. You know what I mean? That would be like some shit where we go get tables and eat fucking donuts and shit. That's some hood shit.
That's some young hood shit. Sitting down
Yo.
eating Dunkin' Donuts.
Shout
But
out Miss Jakara wherever you are. My
Dunkin'
first
Donuts.
teacher was a
Oh,
black lady. She was cool as fuck.
Black
There you
History
go.
Month. There,
There you
she's making
go.
Black History.
Black history, yeah.
There we go. There we go. Black History Month. There. Look, I'm just saying. for Black History Month, Dunkin' Donuts. Don't make me have to come back on this podcast to talk about this again. Let's get some donuts up in there. That's all I'm saying. Let's get some donuts up in there. Moving off of donuts to football. The Super Bowl set. It's the matchup we all wanted, people. The Cincinnati Bengals versus the Los Angeles Rams. Who predicted this? Who saw this coming? Nobody.
Let the media tell it. They'll all say that Joe Burrow saw this coming.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. Congratulations to both teams.
I'm still calling them the St. Louis Rams, like instinctively. By the way, it still hasn't like changed. Like I watched the game and I'll still refer to them as St. Louis periodically.
I get it. This is not the matchup I wanted to see. I would have wanted to see Kansas City play Los Angeles. That did not happen. Congratulations to the Cincinnati Bengals. Shout out to a good friend of my family, Mr. Jeffrey Broadnax. He is the only Cincinnati Bengals fan that I know. I messaged him yesterday. I know he's very happy, and he asked me to talk about it in the podcast. So I'm shouting you out, Mr. Broadnax. Congrats to your Cincinnati Bengals. You have probably waited a long time for this. I know it's been a long time. But I'll tell you what. You know what seeing the Cincinnati Bengals get to the Super Bowl made me realize, Brian? It made me realize that my decision to no longer, and your decision to no longer root for the New York Jets was absolutely the right one, right? Absolutely the right one. The Bengals, they've been terrible. They've been sorry. But the Bengals have been to the Super Bowl more times in my life than the Jets, more time in Ryan's life than the Jets, and it just shows you how sorry the Jets are, even if you didn't think they were sorry. Yeah, I'm glad I left and went to the Steelers. And somebody will say, oh, well, a team in now your new division, they went to the Super Bowl, but still not bad for the Jets. Jets fans, look, Brian tried to tell me a long time ago, y'all could listen to it too. You don't have to live that life. You don't got to do it. You don't got to live that life in misery and pain. Because I don't know when y'all get into the Super Bowl. I'm just glad I don't live that life anymore. That's all. It made me realize that. Are you excited?
Self-love is important.
It is. Self-love is important. That's right. I love myself, and I don't feel like dealing with that anymore. Are you excited at all for the Super Bowl matchup? I'm kind of, no. I'll be working during the Super Bowl, but I'm not really excited. I'll be watching. I'm like, it's kind of whatever. How you feeling, Brian?
I'm almost dreading these next 2 weeks. If I'm being totally honest.
Oh no!
I think the game itself is going to be very interesting, entertaining, and I wanted to see the Rams there. I think the Rams are. I mean, I don't want to say legit from the standpoint of like they'll kick everybody's ass type of shit, but that doesn't always draw it in. My attention for sports, right? For me, I think the Rams are just interesting because there's a lot there in terms of them actually going for it. They have guys that I think are very interesting on that team. Matthew Stafford, who I know that like we've heard Bomani Jones' criticisms and other guys, for example, or whatever. And I would say like I think that he should get a little bit more credit for being a viable guy on Detroit Lions for that long of a time, right? Like he was somebody where it's like, yeah, he's a franchise quarterback. He's not like on the top end of that, like some other people would try to be like, oh, if he just got a chance, whatever. But I do think that if you prove you're bad, if you prove you're good in a bad situation, right? As two people with experience doing that, perhaps in our careers, Dexter, we could probably say, because we see some of the fires that have been going on recently that I'm not going to mention, but whoo, look, I think that with Matthew Stafford, like he should get credit for that. And I think that he's a legit good, not great, but I think he's a legit good quarterback. I would put him in the top 10, 12 in the league, which is probably where I would have had him for most of the last several years, right? Probably on the lower end of that, sure, but good. And shit, if I was a Jet, he's better than any quarterback I've ever had as a Jet fan when I was a Jet fan back in the day, except for maybe Chad Pennington. But like,
no, he's better than Chad Pennington.
Yeah. No, what am I saying? but and then with Aaron Donald, pit greatness, right, Dex? You know what I'm saying? Like
the problem for me in the Super Bowl is you got Aaron Donald, pit greatness on one side. You got another pit guy, and Tyler Boyd on the other side. So it's two Pit Panthers in the Super Bowl going against each other.
It
I
also
don't,
means you can't lose.
can't lose. Pitt's gonna win.
Yeah. But and the thing is, like, Aaron Donald, like, this won't surprise you, Dex. This is my kind of dude.
Oh, oh
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yes. This is
Six
definitely your kind of
one,
dude.
6'1", maybe 300 pounds, defensive tackle, got 18 sacks, 20 sacks 1 year as a defensive tackle, 98 sacks in like 7 or 8 NFL seasons. Um, if you look, shout out to Daily Chips on YouTube, one of my favorite channels. Daily Chips compiles these fight altercations, typically with NBA players, like all of Markieff Morris's and Jimmy Butler's fights, and Patrick Beverly and Rajon Rondo and Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett running away in almost all of them, by the way. The only person he actually wanted to go out was Dwight
Wait,
Howard.
what?
So yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Mark that
The-
down. We gotta get somebody from there on here this year to
I
break
love
some
that
of this
channel.
stuff down. What'd you
And
say?
then I said I love that channel.
Oh, I thought you said you don't think it's gonna happen. I was like, okay.
And then Aaron Donald has one. And I was like, huh,
Uh-huh.
I usually go here for the basketball fights, but I didn't know. And I was look, Aaron Donald, I like what I saw. He did it against he did it against not the 49ers, but last week against who the fuck did
Bucks.
they beat last week? The Bucks.
Bucks.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who they played. Yeah, like Aaron Donald, you know what I'm saying? Like he's gonna protect himself, protect his guys, and he ain't scared of nobody. And I love it. He's such a Brian dude. If I had an all Brian football team, you already know he's on that squad. And
Oh,
then
God.
and then obviously, Odell Beckham, and Dex, obviously, you could lend a lot here, but Odell Beckham is somebody who's been polarizing to say the least, particularly in New York. And look, he balled out in an NFC championship game and is one of the reasons that the Rams are going to the Super Bowl, along with Matthew Stafford, Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey. They just have a lot of interesting guys that I'm looking forward to. And then on the Cincinnati side, obviously you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, but Joe Burrow is going to dominate all the freaking headlines and stories, and they're going to shove him down our throats, and they're going to make me purposely hate this dude. And I'm not going to get into that Joe Burrow thing yet, because I like Joe Burrow. I legitimately do. He's cool. I think he's legitimately really good, but motherfuckers just can't help himself when the next when the next
We'll
great
get to
white
that.
hope comes along. They can't help themselves. They gotta get on right away.
So are it sounds to me like you're rooting for the Rams.
Yes, I'm betting on the
So
Rams. I'm rooting for the Rams. Yes.
I'm rooting for the Rams. Like I said, Pitt's gonna win in this no matter what, but I'm rooting for the Rams.
I
For
want
some of the
Aaron
reasons
Donald to get his. If I had
I
to
do.
pick one player to get their
Yeah.
ring here,
Well,
Aaron Donald will
Beckham
probably be
too. I want
first.
OBJ to get his
OBJ
badly
is second to me, and Aaron
because a
Donald first.
lot of people.
Aaron Donald, after the last play, after the Jimmy Garoppolo interception, was pointing at his ring finger, and I was like, "Yeah, that's you know what I'm saying? That's my kind of dude."
I'm here for Aaron Donald getting one. I do. He is a beast. I enjoy watching him play. I've always heard a lot from people about his workouts. Sometimes comes back to University of Pittsburgh and does some workouts. I've heard from some people there about how intense those are. So I definitely want to see him get one. I like you too, Brian. Want to see OBJ get one. I think OBJ's been through a lot with people trying to tear him down in the media. I think he's happy. He wanted to play in LA. I know he wants to stay in LA. I think he's happy where he is. He balled out. There were people weeks ago, let's not forget, it was just a few weeks ago, there were people saying that he was done, which I thought was ridiculous. And now it's like, who looks bad, OBJ or Baker Mayfield? Yeah, might be Baker Mayfield. So I'm rooting for that. I'm not terribly excited about this matchup, but of course, I will be watching. We'll see what happens with that. Not terribly excited, but what people are excited for? Oh, that quarterback number 9 in Cincinnati. That would be Joe Burrow. The Joe Burrow hype train is moving. I mean, we saw this after the game. They beat the Chiefs, stunning upset, come back from 18 points down. Patrick Mahomes did not play well. The Chiefs defense couldn't stop myself or Brian right now. Didn't look good. Joe Burrow wins this game. He makes the plays he needs to make no doubt about that. But after the
Did
game
Did you see my
on
tweet,
social
by the way?
media,
Did you see my
what'd you
tweet,
say?
by the way, yesterday? Did you see my tweet yesterday
Which tweet?
comparing LeBron's 2011 finals to what Patrick Mahomes did after the second quarter yesterday? That's
Uh,
what it felt like to me.
I can
Of
see that.
like that great of a player doing whatever the fuck that shitty 5-yard throws that were just off target and lazy and should have been intercepted. Like, he did that like 4 times at least.
There
Like, it was
and
awful, man.
there was some
Awful.
curious play calling with them at the end of the game having a chance to punch in a touchdown or at least get a field goal to tie, which they did. I believe it was second down. It was second and goal from about the 5 or 4. And instead of just running the ball again and forcing them to use their timeouts, their last timeout that they would have had Cincinnati, they had a play where Mahomes is scrambling, backpedaling for his life, is able to get it away. The next play, they do the same thing. Then he fumbles it, and they're lucky that they recovered it because that could have been a wrap for them and their season right there. I didn't understand some of the play calling there. That seemed like another one where the coaches just overthink it, run the ball. They've been having some success on their drive, running the ball. I didn't understand it all. But after the game, everybody's on the Joe Burrow bandwagon. Oh, Joe Burrow's great. He's this. Brian sent me a tweet in which somebody said he's America's quarterback. And whenever somebody said,
Oh,
whenever
oh,
somebody
I
says
forgot about that
this
one.
is this is
Oh,
America's player, I'm always like, which America are you talking about?
right.
Right? And generally, when it comes to a player that let's just say will not be participating in the Black History Month, we know who they're talking about and what America they're talking about. So I'm just like, okay, he's America's quarterback. And to me, the thing about all the hype that came to Joe Burrow yesterday, that after this game that we saw, this AFC Championship game, to me, Brian, was the disrespect for Patrick Mahomes. We're
Yo,
talking about, we're acting like this guy, Patrick Mahomes, one, is not the best quarterback in football. Two, had gone to 4 straight AFC Championship games, won a Super Bowl, has been dominant for years. We admittedly said he had a bad half, but now this is like Brian said, people take it too far. You've gone too far. We could say Joe Burrow played well. We could say Joe Burrow overcame a shitty offensive line to win a divisional round. Played good to make the plays that needed to be done in the AFC Championship game. That's fine. But now, is he the best quarterback in football? No. That's just stupid. No, we don't have to do that. This is the problem. For certain people, certain players that look a certain way, they just got to push it too far. Y'all got to do too much. Like, I don't feel like people were amazed by Mahomes. I don't feel like there was this anointment of him or saying that he was America's quarterback. Like, nobody was saying that. I didn't see Lamar Jackson get called America's quarterback.
that's the first person I thought about too when he
So
won
ask
MVP a couple
yourself
years ago.
why and who do you call America's quarterback and why do you do it, right? Like just ask yourself that. You'll see the patterns with this and how this happens, right? And yeah, we're here to call out Black History Month. We never keep our tongues quiet, but not this month. It's not going to happen. But yes, I just think it's been, Brian, I know you were annoyed about it. I know you have a lot to say, but I thought it was a bit much what we saw yesterday from people in finding reasons to talk about Joe Burrow's greatness. Joe Burrow's been very good. I like Joe Burrow. I think he's got a lot of heart, a lot of moxie. I think he can be really good. We don't have to jump off the cliff with everything. We don't have to go so far. I'm sure you saw more. I stayed away from it on Twitter. I'm sure you saw more of what people were saying, the ridiculousness of it. And we don't, here's another thing, people. We don't always have to comment on everything in the moment. Like we have to say something about something because one person said something so ridiculous. Now the next person has to say it about a particular athlete. Like, it's okay. Joe Burrow played well. Congrats. He made it to the Super Bowl. What happens in the Super Bowl if he throws 4 interceptions? Now Joe Burrow's going to stink? I don't think so. I don't think he stinks. But what's going to happen then?
Nah, you know what's gonna happen? People are gonna say, "Oh, don't worry about it. He'll be back like 3, 4 more times." But Dan Marino went in his second year and never went back. And
Great
don't get
point.
me to the point where I'm
Great
gonna
point.
root for that. All right, don't
Great
get me
point.
to the point where I root for that career outcome. There's a lot of different directions this could go, but I'll just say this: we get way too hyped about the shiny new toy shit, treating Patrick Mahomes like he's 30 years old and damn near cooked. It's like he's 26, already went to multiple Super Bowls, won one, probably would have won the second one if he had an offensive line. Because you still can't convince me that Tampa Bay Bucks team was that good, right? But anyway, I mean, look, even this year we have 2 Super Bowl teams. I'm not convinced that they're the best 2 teams in the NFL at all. The Rams might be the best in the NFC, but I think the NFC was pretty fucking weak this year. Yeah, people get way too hype about just the new thing that comes along. We do this with athletes, we do this with media members, we do this with a lot of different things. Like it's interesting that we were talking briefly about John Morant and Luka Doncic on the timeline yesterday because I think John Morant is like the shiny new thing, and people are not gonna like him in 3-4 years unless he wins a championship. They'll get over him. They went through it with Giannis. Giannis was the nice, lovable underdog type of dude, and then his quote unquote DK wholesome, has a great story, all these different things, and then oh, he's a bust, he can't win a championship, he can't beat the Heat, and then all of a sudden he wins a championship and we're back on his dick. We are a nation of dick riders. We are a society of fucking nut hugging motherfuckers who just can't like help ourselves. We always have to get on the hype train and ride it until the wheels fall off, until everything is fucking, shitty and this person loses or the person we root for loses or whatever. We do this with music artists, we do this with athletes, we do this with media members. Somebody comes along new and is young, and then we'll probably hate them a few years from now. We'll see how people treat Malika Andrews when she's 32 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what it happens all the time. This is how people react to shit. Should I read some of the texts that I was sending
Please,
from yesterday from the
please enlighten me. Well, not enlighten me because I saw it, but
that's from
enlighten our
the
audience.
I'm gonna choose them carefully because there are some things I'm not gonna. There are some things where I'm just like, yeah, I'm not gonna read that one. My timeline. This was during the game. My timeline way too hype about Burrow. Always the shiny new shit. LOL. They'll hate him in 3 years. It's true, Dex. Like it's true. You know how this is gonna be. Like, think about it. If he doesn't win the Super Bowl within the next 3 years, yeah, people are gonna start questioning him. If he wins all three between now and then, people are gonna be tired of him. Like, we're just gonna keep finding ways to just move the goalposts and change the narrative or whatever the case may be. All the time. This is what it is. And it's like, by the way, Tony Romo, now that I'm seeing this, he was mad annoying yesterday. But the whole thing with Joe Burrow, yeah, I'm not gonna repeat that. Oh, he puffs cigars. Yeah, people keep freaking posting the pictures of him puffing cigars at LSU. You know what I mean? Because he's supposed to be Joe Cool and all this shit. And I'm like, yo, like we're just overdoing it. And every turn, like, all right, we get it. New young dude is here. He's good. And we have to overblow it on every turn. People were getting hyped because he did the Icky shuffle allegedly with Icky Woods. Icky Woods didn't even know what the fuck he was doing. They shook hands at midfield, and then he just kind of spontaneously just did like a half-ass Icky shuffle, and Icky shuffle just kind of looked at him and then looked away. He didn't know what the fuck he was doing. That wasn't an Icky shuffle. And then everyone's like, "Oh my god, he did the Icky shuffle with Icky Woods." No, the fuck he didn't. But this
Why
is
do
how it is when
I don't
people just get
understand
on
why
his
people
dick that
I don't
early.
understand why people have to act like if somebody who has celebrity does something with somebody else is like, oh my god, it's so cool or so it's out of this world. Like it's people would somebody else has randomly seen Icky Woods and done the Icky Shuffle. Not that
I'm
amazing.
and I'm gonna bring up the Taylor Rooks tweet because I mean Taylor Rooks, look, she does very good work. Obviously, we like her up here. But Joe Burrow told me that if he went into an NBA game, he could get at least 12 to 15 points. Parentheses with a straight face, and I knew he was gonna be great because that is just irrational confidence. And I'm like, yo, again, we like Taylor up here. What does that mean? Mad people are irrationally confident. Like mad people who are
Right.
5'6", 250 pounds, out of shape, they think that they can score 8, 10 points in an NBA game. Like they honestly really think that. We see this in bars all the time and shit like that. Like irrational confidence is cool when it's acceptable by, people just because they like the athlete. But like if J.R. Smith is irrationally confident, if a lesser athlete or if non-athletes are irrationally confident, that like what are we doing here? Is ultimately the point.
Irrational confidence. The problem for me with that tweet is it makes it sound like irrational confidence is a precursor to success, and it is not. Right? We know athletes who were irrationally confident that haven't succeeded on the greatest stage.
I would say
Russ-
most people are irrationally confident, period, by the way. I would say
I,
most people are.
I might disagree with that. I'm not sure most people are rationally confident. I think what I mean. I'm not sure a lot. I think there are people who are confident. I think there are people who are rationally confident. I think people who lack confidence. I actually do think irrational confidence is a small percentage of people. But what I think we need to understand is it does not mean that you're going to be successful. Taylor Rooks kind of intimates that because she saw this irrational confidence in him, that she knew that he could do something. It's like, yeah, maybe. right? Like, maybe, like,
Correlation does
it
not equal
means all it
causation.
means is that person has a strong belief in themselves, right? Strong belief in yourself does not equate to success. It takes. It's great. It's a great thing to have. Having confidence is better than not having confidence. Confident in that. I'm confident in that. Having a rational confidence is probably really good because when people tell you no, you're not going to listen to them. That can also be a good thing. It can also make you stubborn or hard headed. There's a very thin line between that. It also doesn't mean that you're going to succeed, right? You also have to have the wherewithal to know your limitations, what you can, what you can't do. Just because you think you can score 10 to 15 points in an NBA game doesn't mean that you will. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's nice that you think you can. It's nice that you're not afraid. That's all nice,
He
but it
can't,
doesn't
by the
mean that
way.
you will.
That's the other
Also,
thing.
we
Like,
don't, that's my problem with those tweets and all this stuff is we don't have to find things to define somebody's accomplishments all the time. Sometimes it just is what it is. Joe Burrow played a good game. Joe Burrows had a good playoff run. Joe Burrow stepped up when it mattered. That's it. It's nothing more than that. We don't have to go back and be like, whoa, when Joe Burrow was 6 years old, I always knew he could make it here. Okay. If you did, cool. But what does that mean? Like, what is it?
where
Especially from people who don't really know him like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if
yeah.
his mama says something, or his dad says something, or people close to him, I might say, I will take what they have to say with a strong measure. I really would listen to that. But all the rest of y'all chiming in on Twitter, oh, you didn't know. You didn't know nothing. You didn't know shit. You didn't
Honestly.
know. Brian, you make another good point. We do this with athletes. We do this with people. There's this. We got to ride the wave, build them up to most likely then tear people down.
Yes.
And when people do not live to quote unquote standards or the pedestal we put them on, we bring them down. We're seeing this now with the New York Knicks with Julius Randle, which
Uh-huh.
I've long talked about. Julius Randle, who has not played well, but there's a segment of the Knicks community that is being, I think, a little bit too harsh on him. And something I spoke about when I had Chris Herring on the NBA Exchange the other day in reading his new book, I think we sometimes don't think enough, especially now we talk more about mental health. We don't think a lot about what people may be going through into why we might see them perform in the field. You never know what somebody's going through. I understand it's their job and they got to show up and we expect them to perform, but they are people and they didn't ask for this and all this stuff that people put on them. Joe Burrow didn't ask for this. I'm not mad at Joe Burrow. I'm mad at you, the people out there, because y'all
Right.
are doing
That's
too
important.
much.
Yeah, yeah.
Y'all are doing too much, and nobody asked for it. Nobody asked for it. Nobody could just be like, man, great win. Let's see what he does in Super Bowl. Everything has to be to another level. Like,
Everybody has to do the most on Twitter, on social media, period. And like not like playfully like haha, I'm in on the joke doing the most. It's like dead ass doing the most. Like actually trying to do the most just so they can get, to point A, point B, whatever. Not Taylor, but like in general, people
yeah, I don't, I
are
don't,
just
I
doing
don't,
that's just where we are now.
I don't feel like that was like Taylor's intent. Like, while I think her tweet, I agree. I think it's fair to question what does that mean. I
Yeah.
think that's more than fair to question it. There's other people I think that was there just jumping on, like when somebody says Joe Burrow is America's quarterback. Like, what qualifies as that? What does that even mean? Like, I really want to know that. What does that mean?
White, not problematic,
Yeah,
cool, young, good arm. That's all that dude means by that.
right. And like, come on, be better
By
than
the way,
that.
he should not get all the credit for the win. He didn't even play that great. Like, he has Jamar Chase, one of the best receivers in the league already as a rookie. And their defense kept making play after play after play against the Chiefs, against Patrick Mahomes. Like, but this is another thing that pisses me off about football. And this is why I thank God I did not go the football analyst route. Because I don't care about football like that. Because all people do is just give credit to the fucking quarterback all the time. That shit is annoying. It's like, yo, this mad quarterback is more dependent on everything else going right than like, compared to stars in other sports, for example. Baseball is very individualistic, as we talked about. Basketball, the
Yep.
one player out of five on the court on your team matters so much. The quarterback, it's like, yo, generally speaking, if you don't have an offensive line and or receivers, then you're cooked. And that's what made yesterday so interesting, because it's like the Bengals don't even have a great offensive line and the Chiefs weren't getting pressure up front. And it's like, yo, Joe Burrow has time. He has very good. It's not even just Jamar Chase, by the way, had Tyler Boyd. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? T. Higgins. And they had Uzoma, but he ended up getting hurt. And it's like, yo, he doesn't get all the credit for this, but they're going to give it to him because this is what we do. We give it to the quarterback no matter what. And it's another reason why I kind of hope the Rams win this because then here's what's going to happen because it's a copycat league and all sports leagues are copycat leagues. I don't want to just call the NFL league copycat league.
Mhm.
But with Joe Burrow, if he wins, what's going to happen is in the NFL draft, this is going to be fascinating, right? In the NFL draft, people are just going to be, even though this isn't a great quarterback draft, people are going to be drafting quarterbacks in round one, probably more than we expect. We expect 2, maybe 3. It's probably going to be like 4 or 5 because people are like, yo, you got to get the next young quarterback who's going to be ready to play right away. Da, 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 da. And if Matthew Stafford wins, we might see more teams try to get a veteran. Just try to trade for a veteran like a Russell Wilson who might be out there and an Aaron Rodgers who might be out there, et cetera. Like, it's just a copycat league in that way. So I'm kind of hoping for the Rams to win because I'm of the school where I don't think you need an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. As we've seen in plenty of the past several Super Bowls with Nick Foles beating Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. And I would argue that when Tom Brady won it with the Tampa Bay Bucks and even his last couple with the Patriots, while
He was not elite.
he was good, but he wasn't like he himself, again, needed a lot of things to go. Tom Brady would even acknowledge this. He needed a lot of things to go right to beat Tom Brady. In the very beginning, they were hiding him as best as they could. And then he got comfortable when they got Randy Moss and they got an offensive line and they got running backs. Deion Branch was good. Then along the way, you saw Aaron Hernandez, Rob Gronkowski, et cetera, et cetera. Like, yo, you're dependent on all these other factors. It's rare that we see one quarterback lift up sort of all tides, rise all tides, lift all boats, whatever the saying is. And with the Kansas City Chiefs, it's like even Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman. They had Sammy Watkins at one
talent. You
point.
need talent to succeed as a quarterback. There's gonna be no disagreement for me on that. But you're right. I don't think people talk about it enough. I think you're right about that.
Backpack Broadcasting continues to bring you the best original sports content, but now you can get more of the content you love. For as little as $3 a month, you can get access to bonus content, including behind-the-scenes footage and interviews from the Sports Walk, Sideline Stories, or the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. All this exclusive content comes via Patreon. There are tiered levels of patronage, and each Backpack Broadcasting patron receives exclusive perks. Your support helps Backpack Broadcasting create more of the original content that you love. Visit Backpack Broadcasting's Patreon page and become a patron today.
Let's move on real quick to your boy Tom Brady. I don't know what's going on. He reportedly was
I have a
retired.
theory.
You have a theory
Yeah.
on this?
Yeah.
He before to other people
Set the stage, yes.
said that he was retired. Then it came out and his agent said that he had not informed the Bucks yet of his retirement, but it sounds like he's retired. We're not really sure. Brian, what's your theory, and what do you think the legacy of Tom Brady, who many people consider the GOAT quarterback, what's your theory on this, and what do you think his legacy will be if he does indeed leave the game?
I'm not gonna get into all that because I'm not a Tom Brady fan. You know what I mean? Like as a tormented New Yorker, like he's another one where we do too much. Like Dex, were you on Twitter after the announcement was revealed, or not revealed, but the announcement, or it wasn't even an announcement, the report of his
Yes,
retirement from Jeff Darlington and Adam Schefter.
I was not paying attention to that
Oh,
on
people were doing
Saturday.
they were posting the pictures of him with
I was
all the
not.
rings. They were doing too much. They were saying, whatever. And it's his retirement. But here's the thing. Something was fishy as soon as that was announced, right? Because I'm like, all right, if I know Tom Brady even a little bit, I know that this retirement is not going to come from a Jeff Darlington, Adam Schefter report if he can control it. So it probably leaked. And what I'm thinking is the reason why they're backtracking, even though the NFL said, thank you, Tom, whatever. I heard the NFL count said that, according to Mike Ryan Ruiz at the Levitar show. I think that Tom Brady obviously wants to control his messaging here. And we've seen that with his shows, The Man in the Arena, which they keep running ads for that I'm not going to listen to. And the Let's Go podcast he does with Jim Gray. And I think Larry Fitzgerald, which I'm not going to listen to. But, It's a podcast called Let's Go. Like Dex, come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's a worse name of a show that you can get me to not listen to than Let's Go with exclamation point?
Let's go again.
So basically, what I think is this with Tom Brady. I think that he wants to control his messaging. Doesn't like that the leak got out, and I think the video is not done. What I mean by that is they're working on a video montage for his retirement, one of these big things where it's going to be him narrating and talking over it and cinematic and all this shit. As you know, rightfully so, you should do that if you want.
I'm here for it if it looks good. Yeah.
I think they're working on that. It's not done yet. And when that's done, he'll post it on his page, the TB12 logo, all this shit, thanking everybody. I'm going to go be a great husband now, all this shit. And I'm going to retire, whatever. So I do think he's going to retire. And I do think I trust the reporting of Adam Schefter, Jeff Darlington here, even though some people might take exception with Adam Schefter's reporting over the last few months. I will trust the reporting here in this instance, right? And I will say that I just think that they want to do it a specific way. Video montage, perhaps an announcement, perhaps both. An announcement within the video montage was probably fair to expect. And it's just not ready to go yet. And they want to save it for a specific time. So that's what I think is going on here, honestly, if I had to guess.
I mean, that's fine. I do think to some degree Tom Brady wants to control the narrative here, and he should. We fully support that. There was a play in the Bucks-Rams game 2 weeks ago where Tom Brady got hit and he was laying on the floor and on the ground, and I was like, yo,
yeah,
I don't think he wants this anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I would got to think at his age, he's 44.
You don't think his wife wants it anymore either, bro.
Wants it more either. You get hit like that, and you're just like, yeah, there's only so many more of these I could take. Do I think he probably could have played another year? Probably. Look, Tom Brady's not what he once was. The last couple of years, Brian, you talked about how he was not elite, and he won a Super Bowl the previous year. You're right.
His numbers are very good, but like, you know, when you watch him, it's like, yo, a lot of things. Again, Tampa Bay, why is he playing so well? All those receivers, that offensive line, etc.
Right, he's got a good offensive line, fantastic defense against pressure on the quarterback. But all that being said, not taking anything away from Tom Brady, I think even at the age he was playing, he was still playing very well.
Yeah.
But I do think you start taking these hits at 44, they feel different the next day. Father Time catches up to all of us, and I think he just was like, no, I don't want any more of that. Now, in terms of his legacy, I'm not going to get too much in this until he officially retires, and we know.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think we know how great he's been and some of the things that he has done throughout his career. Everybody seems to always like playing with him. I've always said that's always been pretty interesting. Guys have really liked to play with him and enjoy playing with him no matter what. So that's kind of cool. And he has a lot of respect, I think, from a lot of people. So when it's official, we'll talk more. I think we'll talk more about Tom Brady. For now, it's up in the air. I think the man deserves to go out on his own terms in the way he wanted to. So we will talk about that. All right. We have some quick things that Brian told me he wanted to talk about real quick in this podcast, all of which I think are interesting, by the way. Might I add. We were going to talk about the NBA All-Star voting, but we're going to get out of that. I will ask a quick question about that, if you care. Because I know friend of the podcast, Jamoke Davis, asked me if we would talk about this, and I would talk about it in exchange, but there will be no NBA exchange this week because I have to travel. Were you upset that Andrew Wiggins was named the All-Star? I was not personally mad about this as some people were. I do not think he should have been an All-Star starter, but I'm not up in arms at anything over the NBA All-Star game. What did you think about Andrew Wiggins being named an All-Star?
I was surprised that I didn't really have a reaction to it, but I think here's why, Dex. Keep that camera on both of us.
Yeah.
I did not I wasn't one of these people that was like pissed about it because I saw it coming. Once he overtook Paul George in the voting, I was like, yeah, he's gonna get it. Like, the push is happening.
Right.
Whether it's the Golden State Warriors fans coming through, all of Canada, the anti-vaxxers, whatever the case may be. He ended up getting vaccinated, but still,
right.
They probably like, oh, he did that because he had to. It's the NBA. We still stand with him, blah, 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 blah. But Wiggins got really good after he got vaccinated, didn't he? So basically, I was sort of bracing for it. So while I think it's stupid to some degree because it's like obviously he shouldn't be a starter. I'm actually not really like up in arms about his All-Star case too, which is another thing. Like within reason, if Draymond Green's going to be hurt and not play, Paul George is going to be hurt and not play,
He
like
could have been a replacement there, right? Like even if
yeah,
though, yeah, I'm with you on that.
yeah, like it wasn't like they put you know Zubac in the game or some shit like that from the
Yeah,
Clippers.
yeah, I think there's a case in like he was probably a late pick for the All-Star game as a reserve, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been upset about it. I do not think he is an All-Star starter by any means based on the way he's played this year, but I would not have been terribly annoyed if he had been named a reserve, especially as a replacement to Draymond Green, that who I think should be an All-Star.
Yes.
That
He
would
would have
not
been
have
my other
bothered me.
he would have been my starter, by the way.
Yes, he would have been mine too. But I'm not again,
Whatever.
you said this before about the Pro Bowl and All Pro and All NBA and All Star team. I do not get terribly up in arms about these things. It is an exhibition game we're talking about. Is it an honor? Yes. I don't think any of it is that serious. Um, will anybody be talking about this a year from now, 2 years from now? Probably not.
Maybe actually, because it'll be like, yo, remember when Andrew Wiggins started the All-Star game type of shit?
Nobody
But
said nobody's saying
I
that.
think no, I think
Unless
people
he
bring
goes
it up as
crazy
a
in the
joke.
All-Star game. Unless he
Yeah,
goes crazy
yeah.
and like wins MVP or something, then but yes.
I'm rooting for that actually. You know what? Now I'm rooting for that. Now that you pointed that out,
I'm fine
absolutely
on that.
rooting for that. No, but what I'll say is like with Andrew Wiggins, like that's the thing for me, right? Like regardless of who starts, I think who starts in basketball is generally overrated because I think that who finishes matters more. And for the All Star game, like I couldn't care like that. I don't even always watch the All Star game, right? Like like I'll have it on generally all the time, but will I be actively paying attention to it necessarily? I don't know about that. And look, if I'm being honest, the Western Conference front court not great. Now, the players who should be starting ahead of him, Rudy Gobert probably being one of the main ones, him or Carl
Mhm.
Anthony Towns. Carl Anthony Towns wasn't going to start. Paul George is hurt. I would have had him in there if not for Draymond Green, who's also hurt. And then Rudy Gobert. I mean, look, I don't care. Like you know what I'm saying? Like Rudy Gobert be going hard in the All Star game.
You're not
Rudy
shedding
Gobert be
any
going
tears
hard
for
in the
Rudy
All Star
Gobert?
game trying to prove a point. I don't want to see that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's an All Star game.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people are shedding any tears for Rudy Gobert, who I would say I agree, like probably deserve to be not probably deserve to be over Andrew Wiggins, but
Yeah, yeah,
I understand the sentiment of why they want to be okay, not spending too much time on that.
yeah.
You wanted to talk a little bit about some boxing. Keith Thurman will be returning to the ring. We have not seen the man in a long time. He's returning this Saturday. Shockingly, this is a pay-per-view fight. I'm a little bit shocked about that.
Oh, I'm not happy about that, Dex. I'm not happy
Who's
about
the
that.
opponent again?
Mario Barrios.
Mario Barrios. I saw some promo for this weekend. I'm intrigued because I was once a very high guy who was high on Keith Thurman. Wouldn't consider myself a fan, but was high on him. Obviously, he's had a lot of injuries that's affected his career, including with his hand. Uh, are you excited for this? I won't say I'm excited. I'm intrigued to see how he does because it's been some time. He hasn't fought in what 2 years, right, Brian?
2.5.
Two
Two
and a
and a
half
half
years.
years.
He
So
hasn't fought.
but that's why it's intriguing for me because
Yeah.
like obviously here's the thing, right? I kind of saw this with Gary Russell Jr. because Gary Russell Jr. we actually just saw a similar sort of fight in terms of where guys were at in their career, right? So Gary Russell Jr., if you remember, Dex, this was the same day as whatever playoff game that was. Actually, no, it was last weekend. It was last weekend, now that I think about it. Because he fought immediately after the 49ers beat the Green Bay Packers on that Saturday.
Mhm.
And yeah, just flipped over to Showtime, not pay per view. And it was on. Gary Russell Jr. is one of the most talented guys in the world in boxing. His only loss of his career was to Vasily Lomachenko in Lomachenko's like third pro fight.
Mhm.
But like, still it was Vasily Lomachenko, and it was only a majority decision. It was a close fight. Gary Russell Jr. is somebody who throughout his career just hasn't really fought that often, was very inactive. 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. He fought one time each of those years. Hadn't fought since pre-COVID, February of 2020, until this past week, and lost to Mark Magsayo, who apparently was like a fighter from the Manny Pacquiao tree from the
Mm.
Philippines, but also is cool with Manny Pacquiao and trained. I don't know if trained under him would be right, but look, I think he was also trained by Freddie Roach, Manny Pacquiao's trainer, longtime trainer.
Mhm.
Mark Magsayo had been active leading up to that. 6 months earlier, had a fight. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just been in the ring a lot, a lot more often than Gary Russell Jr. And he won by majority decision. And honestly, I had it, 115, 113 in his favor. Gary Russell Jr. came out slow, as you often do, after not really fighting very often. And then that happened. So, and Gary Russell Jr., I should mention, entering his mid 30s, like 33 years old. And Mark Magsayo was like 26. So we're seeing a similar thing. Here's the point. Mario Barrios is 26 years old.
Mhm.
26-1 with 17 knockouts. His only loss was to Gervonta Davis, which he lost by knockout last June. Actually saw that fight.
I did.
That was on Showtime. He also beat Ryan Carl last year by knockout. Ryan Carl was pretty good. Not last year, but 2020 now, because we got to start doing that. So like good fighter, smaller for the welterweight class. So he's going to be moving up after being knocked out by Gervonta Davis to fight Keith Thurman, which I think is worth noting. But he is 26 years old. El Azteca, I like that nickname. He's clearly Mexican. Shout out to him. Keith Thurman, 33, 32,
33 now.
33 in that
33 now.
range. 32, 33 in that range. And here's the thing, has not fought since the Manny Pacquiao fight, Dex. That was 2019, July 2019.
That's a long time.
Like
That's a
Jimmy Butler
long
had
time.
just gotten to the Heat. Kevin Durant had just gotten to the Nets. Like that's how long ago we're talking about. And a split decision. I thought he fought that fight well. I thought it was a close loss, but he still lost. That's the only loss of his career. Keith Thurman, 29-1, 22 knockouts. Here's the thing, right? He hasn't fought in 2.5 years. Before that, he fought 6 months earlier to Josecito Lopez at Barclays Center. I was there. I thought he lost that fight. They gave him a majority decision win, or I thought it was a draw. Actually, I thought it was a draw, and they gave him a majority decision win. I would like to rewatch that fight to see how close it was. Before that Josecito Lopez fight, Dex, in January of 2019, 2 years earlier, March of 2017, that was a Danny Garcia fight. Like, we hadn't even started doing the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast yet. But I remember us talking about that fight.
I remember that. I remember doing some stuff up to that fight too.
Right, because that was at Barclays.
Yeah, Barclays. So that's how long. So do you think
and 9 months before that was Sean Porter,
which was a great fight.
He has not fought often.
It was a fantastic fight.
Like this is unfortunately, I would love to see Keith Thurman come back and win and get himself into that welterweight title picture again once more before he retires. But given what we just saw with Gary Russell Jr. and just given how boxing history sort of goes, to me, this sets up as a fight where I'm sort of leaning the underdog here, even though he's moving up in weight. But I think that's strategic, right? If he hasn't fought in 2.5 years, all right, let's get a guy who's good, but is going to be much smaller so that Keith Thurman could potentially knock him out. So stylistically, I find this pretty fascinating. I just don't like that it's on pay-per-view. It's not a pay-per-view worthy fight.
It's not a pay-per-view worthy fight. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. See what Keith Thurman hasn't fought in 2 years. Could bode well for him. Matchup could bode well for him. It could also be really tough for him. I don't know. We will see.
Elbow surgery and hand surgery in the meantime.
I forgot about the elbow. And the
elbow, hand, had a shoulder injury a while back. Like that's the thing too.
That's a lot of wear and tear on the upper body, man, and the body parts that you actually need to be successul as a boxer.
Might bet they're upset. I ain't gonna lie to you. We'll see.
All right. Continuing with combat sports, Brian sent me this because this man loves violence, and so now
this is almost my one time for your mind
about pillow fighting is a combat sport. Yes, people, pillow fighting is a combat sport. What? And there's actually sent me a video. We'll have this up for those watching the podcast of actual pillow fighting going on. There is people pillow fighting in a ring, right? I'm not really sure why you need the ring, but people are pillow fighting in a ring, right? Like I
gotta fight in the ring.
Okay, gotta fight in the ring. Okay, I guess, right? Look, I'm not here for this. Okay, I'm just not here for this, right? Like, I'm not here for this. Like, if we're gonna have combat, give me some combat, right? If we're gonna go all the way, this is like half-ass violence. This is what this is. It's half-ass violence. This is like the flag football of like combat sports right here. You're not really doing it, okay? If you're going to have combat sports, for the people who like violence, I think Brian could attest to this, it's supposed to be about the contact, right? It's supposed to be about the physicality, the strength, the oomph, the bone cracking, the body slapping, the jaw shots to the face. Now we're talking about soft stuff like pillows. I enjoy a great pillow. I want a great pillow when I'm going to sleep. Combat fighting, you're supposed to try to put people to sleep. And now you got pillows. We are talking about pillows. Are we serious here?
Yes.
Pillows?
Yes.
Come on, man. Listen,
yes.
Ryan, a couple years, this is way back when we was doing this podcast. We had what do we have? The Russian hand slap, the Russian face slapping competition.
The slap fighting tournament.
I was
in Europe.
here for the slap fighting competition.
Yeah.
In Russia, out there in Russia, our Russian brothers and sisters were doing the slap fighting competition. I was here for it.
We got an interview.
Pillow fighting? Come on, son.
I'm here for the pillow fighting. Listen, I think
you're desperate for any violence. That's what it's telling you. You're desperate for any violence.
No, I think you need to give pillow fighting a little bit more credit. Like pillow fight, this shit can hurt. You know what I'm saying? You can get concussed.
What?
If you get
if you put rocks in your pillow?
No. But I'm saying, like, if you hit somebody with a pillow hard enough, there is a certain technique when it comes to pillow fighting. You can't just always do it like a WWE chair, especially when you're doing with the one-handers. I will say, like, I don't like that this Reuters article has a photo of, if it's these two women in a pillow fight from October 2021. One of them has Blue Lives Matter tights. I don't know if you noticed that, Dex.
I did not.
It's in Delray Beach, Florida. And she's the one swinging at somebody else who appears to be a Latina, Florida. So, yeah, we out there. But, yeah, I'm here for it because I think pillow fighting can hurt. And I think it's something that could be potentially dangerous. I'm looking at some quotes. There's a pillow fighting championship company. The CEO, Steve Williams, once Stone Cold Steve Austin's real name before he changed it, says, quote, "It's not something where you sit there and laugh and feathers are flying. It's serious. It's hardcore swinging with specialized pillows." This shit hurts, Dex. I'm telling you.
I would have paid good money to hear audio or see video of that. He sounds like somebody who doesn't believe that.
Hold on. This continues. Although I like this. Although the male, female, this is from the Reuters article. And the article is written. Let me get the writer's name here. Oh, just says Reuters. Doesn't say a writer's name here. Okay, we're going to continue. Although the male and female competitors in January's event mostly hail from cutthroat worlds of MMA and boxing, children will still sleep soundly after seeing the bouts. Williams says in a quote, "The only difference between our fights and MMA fights is that nobody gets hurt. The fighters don't like to get hurt, and there's a lot of people who don't want to see blood. They want to see good competition. They just don't want to see the violence." And you know what, Dex? I'm here for that. Be what you are. Embrace it. You know what I mean? Like, look, it's pillow fighting. I still think it can hurt, though. Like, I still think you could cut somebody with a pillow. But, like, I think there can be an art form to this. So I appreciate, competition. I've been starting to get into darts lately. If you've seen darts in Europe, that shit is intense. They come up with chants for everything or whatever. I want to get some of these people up here on the show at some point, yo.
Okay. I'm gonna go to this is an Ain't Hard to Tell podcast staple. This is a Dexter Henry staple. You know what's coming. You know the question I always ask.
Yes.
Who asked for this? Who asked for this? Nobody. Nobody was sitting there like, yo.
According to Steve Williams, the fans did.
What
he said? He said fans. You know, they want to see contact. They don't want to see violence. They don't want to see blood, but they want to see competition. Okay. Be what you are, man.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that in America. But okay, fine. When's the last time you had a pillow fight?
Maybe college. You know what I'm saying?
Why were you pillow fighting in college? What? Wait,
hey, if you're at the right age, I ain't gonna say who. But if you're at the right age, a pillow fight can lead to some things, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're at the right age, come on, yo.
Look, man, I might be far removed. I'm just gonna say this. I never had to pillow fight with somebody I was interested in to make things happen.
And you don't know the person. It's not who you think it is. And hopefully,
I'm not thinking. It don't matter who I think.
Hopefully, the person that you think it is not listening to this right now.
I feel sorry for whoever had to have that pillow fight with you. I feel sorry for whoever had to have a pillow fight with you. Again, nobody asked for this.
One time for your mind, one time. One time for your mind, one time.
One time for your mind. Brian has something to talk about in the world of journalism, which I talked about last week. And I have a little Black History Month stuff to talk about how HBCUs are being targeted. Brian, what you got?
A Black History Month? Really? Oh my God. All right. I almost feel like we should start with you, but we'll build up to that. So last week, after we ended recording last week's episode, I came across this tweet, which I wanted to bring up today because I feel like it's still something it's worth talking about, obviously. It's from a story. This tweet is from a man named Jay Rosen, jrosen.ny, jrosen_NYU on Twitter. Hey, maybe worth reaching out to try to get on this episode or an upcoming episode. But he teaches journalism at NYU Dex, critiques the press, tries suggesting reforms according to his bio. Tweeted out this: public funding for public media per capita. Japan, $53.15, I assume $1 million or $1 billion. I'm not sure, but it just says like 53.15. I don't know if it's dollars, millions, billions, whatever, but 53.15 Dex, right? Israel 21.23, Canada 26.51, Germany 142.42, on and on and on, like Australia, New Zealand, Finland, UK, all between 26 and 80, and the United States is 3.16. I don't know if that's 3 billion or 3 million by comparison, whatever the case may be. So, clicked on the article, and the article is at the site called Nieman Lab, NIEMAN lab.org. Do countries with better funded public media also have healthier democracies? Of course they do, is the headline. Story written by Joshua Benton. And yeah, it just gets into this whole thing about how if the countries who, and it's a study that the countries who fund their media better, get better media. What a novel concept, Dex, because we talk about on this podcast often about companies trying to be cheap, and things of that nature, which we just did last week in the same segment, though we did it in a much different way. Companies just being cheap in general and worried about turning a profit with doing as little as possible, and how that doesn't equate to generally good results. And we often talk about how the American media landscape is, and I often wonder, and sometimes I'll watch a BBC segment because on YouTube you have access to a lot of this stuff. I'll watch a BBC segment, right? And I'll see what they say about how we're doing things out here. And you know what I mean? I take somebody like a John Oliver, for example, on HBO. I think he does a great job of sort of like comparing us to the world and looking at how we're doing things wrong often. And you watch John Oliver's show, so you know exactly like what I'm talking about. And yeah, it's just looking at correlations and cluster analysis. And this is one point where it says that alone, where I was just talking about correlations and cluster analysis, this is from the article, show that high levels of secure funding for public media systems and strong structural protections for the political and economic independence of those systems are consistently and positively correlated with healthy democracies. Look at that. Look at that. So that's where we are.
I'm a big believer in, and I was just saying this to somebody before we recorded this podcast, is that you have to have as much diverse options for media consumption as possible, which is why public media is so important. So I'm not really surprised at those numbers. Along with, Brian, if you look at some of the misinformation that has come about in this country around things like COVID and tons of other things that have gone on, particularly that around COVID, it's not surprising when we invest so little in public media.
Millions. Those numbers that I rattled off earlier, I just looked at the graph.
I figured they were.
I figured they were. Yeah.
But
so it goes, it's right, like, you know, the total, and it gives you the total revenue. And Japan's media revenue is higher, 6.9 million. I'm looking at it right now. The United States, PBS, NPR, etc., 3.2 million. Israel, 213 million. Taiwan, 169 million. Czech Republic, 718 million, apparently. Like, I don't know. I just found this fascinating. I was looking at the study, and it's a very, very deep analysis, so I'm not going to be able to like give you the whole thing here, but you get the idea. It's that the United States is not spending enough on media, which is, and we're at the point where we're just picking facts now, right? Like, we're not even agreeing on what is actually factual when it comes to a lot of these things, which is the biggest problem we had. And that's something that sort of had been bubbling up with social media, with this explosion, and it was very accelerated over the last 5 years when
Yeah,
Donald Trump was president, when 45 was in office, right? And
yeah.
then more people just took to it, and now we are where we are.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting time because we have so much more media, but like we're not investing in public media. I know I like a lot of NPR stuff. I listen to some podcasts they have. Shout out to NPR's Code Switch. It's one of my favorite podcasts on race. I think when you don't have a lot of investment in stuff, you're going to have the problems that we've seen over the last couple of years, right? And it's a very critical time. And when you don't have that investment in things, you're going to have people believing whatever they want, looking at sources that aren't legitimate, telling you they're getting sources from YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. And these are the things that are going to happen because there just isn't enough diversity in media. And not to let mainstream media off the hook either, because I think one of the things people have to understand is even in mainstream media, what can be dangerous is there's a lot of things that are still funded by other corporations. The mainstream media is a business in itself. And so they are sometimes doing stuff that's funded in other corporations. I don't think I've ever told you a story. I'm not going to share it on here, Brian, but I'm gonna have to tell you about how a media outlet I was working with was clearly having stories influenced by another company, and it was definitely influencing some of the truth that it could have been in in those stories. I'll have to tell you about that
Right.
at some time. But no, good note. Public funding for public media. I mean, it's needed, man. It's seriously needed. We got to do better about that. All right, before we get out of here, my one time for your mind: HBCUs under attack, maybe. Howard, Southern University, and other HBCUs received bomb threats. Now, they were recording this right before February 1st. Six historically black colleges and universities, that's what HBCUs are, if you did not know, they received bomb threats, disrupting campus operations and launching police investigations. The Southern University I mentioned, and A&M, Howard University, Bethune-Cookman, Albany State University, Bowie State University, and Delaware State University all received bomb threats. This was according to campus spokespeople or social media posts. Now, this wasn't the first time. Earlier in the month, they have also, some of these schools, also including Howard and Southern, received bomb threats. This was back on January 5th. Three HBCUs received bomb threats. Nothing was found on any of those campuses that received threats, but I think it's something to keep your eye on. I don't think it's something that we should take lightly here, especially what we saw last year with January 6th, especially being that it is Black History Month and we know the hate that exists in this world and people who probably still want to try to send some message to a place where HBCUs have been so integral for many Black people in this country historically to gain an education. Many people have a lot of pride in sending their kids there. I've been fortunate to have been on various HBCU campuses, including Howard, including Jackson State University, North Carolina A&T, really great institutions that have a lot of pride. And so when I hear this at the top of Black History Month, I'm bothered, man. I'm bothered because
For sure.
we are still in 2022 and we still have people who are trying to attack our so-called safe spaces, but no place is really safe for anybody Black. And Black people know this country. Other people of color know this in this country. And I think it's disturbing. It's disturbing for those students that are there who already have to deal with the situation of COVID and other things during this time, and now have to worry about their safety and people trying to attack them, primarily where a lot of these HBCUs are located in the South, where racial tensions, as most of the country, still high, and there is not necessarily respect for Black people and people of color in those spaces. So, I'm wishing all those people stay safe. But one thing we know about the courage of Black people, especially at these institutions through these times, is we're going to be strong. We're not going to let these bomb threats deter us and deter what we are trying to accomplish. There are plenty of fantastic young men and young women on those campuses, and I know they're going to stay strong. But it does bother me that they have to go through this, and this is news we have to deliver at this time during Black History Month. But stay strong, safe people, and yeah, we'll get through it. Hopefully, all the investigating is done as much as possible. It just concerns me there's been that many schools, six, that have been targeted already as we start Black History Month. Concerning, Brian.
Yeah, and I think that You know what's unfortunate? That this is not even like that surprising either, which is often what I come back to
Sadly,
with these
yes.
things. Because it's like, yo, like a lot of people are just very resistant to black people, period. Like I was gonna say, like just what we've seen socially the last couple years, and uprisings and organizations being formed to combat racism, et cetera, et cetera. But motherfuckers are still want to keep America the sort of way that it always has been,
Hmm.
right? And they feel it slipping, and they're trying to cling on to the last bits of it because America's changing. America's absolutely changing. It's going to be a majority minority country in our lifetime. It is. And
Yep.
probably not even in a far distant future. And the people who are dying out, as we've seen with COVID, are often Southern, rural, white, unvaccinated. And these are the people more so than anybody else who are trying to cling on to the country the way it always has been. So I agree with you. Stay strong, HBCUs. And shit, I would also shout out the HBCUs because I feel like they've been doing a lot of good work amid all of this, like all the things that we've experienced or whatever. Like I feel like they're doing a lot of good work, and I like that. I like that we're seeing more networks run ads for HBCUs and the things that they're doing and give visibility to it. Like people could critique ESPN and First Take, and I have my critiques with that format as well. But they do a lot of good stuff and pumping money into HBCUs and showcasing kids and students on their shows and going to their campuses and stuff like that. I saw Stephen A. Smith doing or whatever. So like I have my
Yeah.
criticisms of the show, but that's indisputably great work, and that's the stuff that people like you and I, Dex, have been preaching for a long time.
Well, now's the time to do even more of that work. Stand behind these
Exactly.
students when their safety is being threatened, when their ability to earn education is being threatened. Now's the more time to step up and stand behind HBCUs who need support, who need that financial support, that don't have the long legacy of institutionalized money that PWIs have. So we hope that now they can get that support, but we'll see. We'll have more to talk about as we continue Black History Month. That is it for this episode of the Ain't Hard Tell podcast, episode 210. 210 already, Brian. A lot to do. Please follow us on all social media platforms, on Twitter, on Instagram. We encourage you to do that. Also, continue to support us via Patreon. Give us a few dollars, helps us support this content. We talked about supporting public media. We are part of our own public media. This is open to the public. You can support us, and we want to give a big thank you to our patrons for supporting us, and we appreciate your continued support. Also, be sure to check out our promo with our partners, Prize Picks. All you got to do is use the promo code BACKPACK, and they will match your first deposit up to $100. Really easy. Use that promo code BACKPACK and get yourself a little bit of free money. So, for Bryan Fonseca, I'm Dexter Henry, where I can tell you what I will not be doing this week. That will be pillow fighting. That's not happening at all whatsoever. Although maybe some of the places I'll be traveling to this week, I might see some pillow fighting, but who knows? Maybe we won't see that. I will see that, Brian. I will see you next week when I return from my travels. Peace to everybody. Until next time, y'all. Peace.